Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to do a long-term review of my RuggedMade log splitter. What I like about it, what I don't like about it, and would I buy it again? So I've owned this splitter well over 5 years. I think it's pushing 7. You can see, you know, there's some rust stuff on it. We're gonna walk around. It does live outside part of the year, you know, tarps blow off, that kind of thing. But let's do a quick walk around here. So this is a 22-ton version. We have what I call a log tray on there. We've got our single wedge, 4-way wedge. I'll show you that. There's a log cradle. This is a 212cc Raven engine. It does have electric start. Like I said, 22-ton. Just walk you around here. You can kind of see how faded stuff is. It does have a hydraulic log lift on it, which is really nice. All right, there you go. For those of you who haven't really seen one of these before, just a quick walk around there. So years ago, I decided I wanted to upgrade my log splitter. In the past, I've owned log splitters similar to this, where it was just sort of a one-direction split. Then I got the split fire, which splits both directions, which was kind of cool. But there was still some things about that splitter I didn't like. So I looked for something a little bit different, and this is kind of what I was looking for. The hydraulic log lift, I wanted something with a wedge on it. I liked the tray that was on here, and I like the price, to be honest. I am not commercial. You know, I don't do commercial log splitting and sell a lot of firewood. We used to sell some firewood. Now we mainly just do our own. So I can't tell you how this would hold up under commercial use. I would say that I would not be afraid to get one and try it and see, because at the time that I bought this, one of the competitors that a lot of YouTube people use was like 3 or 4 times as much. And that was one of the things that drew me to this. Was I said, well, I'll try it. If it's a piece of junk, I'll use it for a while, whatever, and then I'll buy a good one. Or if it lasts half as long as one of the expensive ones, and I have to buy 2 for every time somebody buys one of the good ones, I'm still way ahead. But I've been very happy with this overall. When I bought it, the gentleman I spoke with, I called and got some information. You can't order them online, which I did, but I wanted to ask some questions first. So he told me at that point, these Raven engines, they hadn't had any, you know, major complaints or anything with them. You, at that time, could upgrade to, I think they had Hondas. They may still. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, I don't know what is currently available, because I didn't look. I'm not in the market. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about, you know, when I bought mine. So I chose not to spend, it was quite a few $100s more to upgrade that engine. And I figured, well, if it crapped out on me, I'll just buy a Honda engine and plop it in that spot and whatever. So, but it starts good, it runs very well. I haven't had one issue with it. The only thing that's not really working in this general area is the electric start, and that's only because the key got left on, the battery died, and it's actually the original battery that I bought when I got the splitter, so the battery needs to be replaced. So I've just been pull starting it until I got a new battery, but it runs perfectly fine. I always let it run out of gas, you know, shut the gas off so there's not too much gas left in the carburetor while it's sitting for a little bit. But the engine, surprisingly, has been very good, and I wouldn't be afraid to buy another Raven engine on one of these unless I saw, you know, some reviews changed and they're not as good as they were when I got this one. But no, that's been good. Tires are good, everything there. I haven't had any trouble with any of the hoses, fittings, the ram. All of that stuff has been good. No leaks. No major rusting, no seals blowing out on anything. Hydraulic pump has been perfectly fine, worked like it's supposed to. Everything's good and accessible here. I overall really have not had any issues with this splitter. You can see here that we got a little bit of a dented fender there, and I mean, you can tell this thing's been used. The sort of operator station, if you will, I find this to be very comfortable. I'm going to throw you guys on the tripod here a second. I'm about 6 foot tall, and I find this operator station to be very comfortable. One of the issues I had with the previous splitter that I had was it was too low to the ground, and I was kind of, you know, whoever used it, you were kind of bent over trying to use the thing. We ended up actually, when we were using it long term, driving it up onto ramps like you'd use when you service your car, and that got really annoying. So that's one thing I like about this. It's a perfect work height. I'm not hunched over, and that makes a huge difference. Everything's right here, so it's just very convenient. The ram does have an auto return function, so if you're turning to go and, you know, take care of some logs, you can just hit that lever back and it'll take itself back and reset the lever, and then you're good to go again. The log lift, I absolutely love this log lift. Partially because obviously you don't have to pick up logs, and you know, if they're decent size, 12, 16, 18 inch, 20 inch pieces, whatever, you can actually stack quite a few on there. It's not just one at a time. So that's nice, it saves your back, but the thing I love most about this is it acts as a table. So a lot of the wood that I split, I'm not buying logs from like a logging company that delivers a tractor trailer load, and they're all, you know, relatively the same size. I mean, I'm cutting trees on the property that are dying or in the way or whatever, and you know, I might get some stuff that's 30 inches. So when you're splitting something that's that big, to be able to split it, and you can rest a piece right here, there's a cradle here, but as it goes through, you can take this piece and set it back here on the table. You know, this lift will be up and it acts like a table. And then you can take your piece, the other piece, and keep working with it. So you do not have to keep putting pieces down on the ground when you're splitting big ones. You can just set them right there, and that log lift, like I said, it acts like a table, and there's so much less bending over. This little table here, whatever you call the thing, it's fantastic. You know, you can stick a little tractor bucket or something underneath the end of it, and as the pieces come off, you can just shove them right in there. So that works nice. Or if you're loading something, once again, you can have quite a few pieces come out here, and then rather than them land on the ground, you can then grab them and load them in whatever you're going to load them in. A lot of guys use the water totes. We've started using those as well, but it just saves your back a lot the way that this is designed. So the hydraulic log lift, that's the second handle here. I have lifted some huge stuff on there, never had an issue, it never struggled. I was never concerned that I wasn't going to be able to pick something up. I've never tipped the log splitter over. So again, all of this works very, very well. I do like this little cradle here, though I did end up bending it some. So, and then you have your 4-way wedge. It only fits on there one direction. You can see the way it's shaped here, but there's a little piece here that has to go on the top. But the way that this kind of pushes the pieces up, it just slides right down on there like that, and then you've got a 4-way wedge. So what I like to do when I split big pieces is I'll get them down to manageable size, stack them on there, throw this on, run them through, and then when I go back to doing, if you know, I have bigger pieces again, I just take that off. So this is a really great feature. I don't care that it's not hydraulic. I don't need one that has a hydraulic 4-way or 6-way wedge on it. To me, I do so many that have to be done in half first and things like that. So that's been great. I have not bent it or broken it or done anything with it to damage it, and I've pushed some big stuff through here. So this has a 2-inch ball receiver here on the front. It has a nice wide jack that keeps everything nice and stable here. That folds up. So overall, I think that's sort of the majority of the overview of this. You guys can let me know if you have any questions about sort of the overview and how it works. You can take this log table off. There's 2 pins here, and with this wedge off, you can see those 2 holes right there. This log table then pins in here up out of the way, and even the log lift, you can see right here there's a seam. This bottom piece comes out for transportation. So yeah, overall it's a really good design. So let's talk about some of the things that I wish were different on this splitter. All right, so let's talk about some of these things here that I wish were a little bit different. And again, don't quote me on some of these, because there is a possibility that the new models maybe have addressed some of these things. Let's just start at the front here. The first one, we were just talking about the 2-inch receiver here. So it's great that you can take this table and pin it up there and get it out of your way. There's a nice handle here to be able to lift and drop that down onto a receiver, a ball. The problem is that you cannot lift this through here. If this was designed just a little bit differently, you could actually open the coupler with the table in place. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering, why do you want to do that? You can't turn, you can't do anything with the table there. But the truth is that with something like this is an adapter plate here with the skid steer, but this is actually for a 3-point hitch. So I feel like a lot of people with homesteads and things have compact tractors, and if they run something like this, they'd be able to back in underneath there, lift the splitter up and drive away, and not even have to worry about picking the jack up, because they could pick it up high enough. And that would be so much easier to move it. But unfortunately, if you try to do that with this or a tractor or something, you still have to take this log table off. So I think just a very small change of making this wide enough so that you can open this. Unfortunately, these tubes are hollow, so I can't just grind it. But a small change like that would make a big difference for certain people, myself included. So while we're talking about transportation, let's talk about this log lift. So it always settles after it sits for a little while. It settles down to the ground. For transportation, you really, unless you're moving it quickly and you can just leave that up and drive from point A to point B, then that's fine. But if you're going to finish working, leave it, and want to come back, say, the next day to move it, that's going to be on the ground. You're going to have to start the thing back up. I wish they had a way to pin this, some sort of little locking mechanism or something you could just quickly operate up here, that you could, if you wanted to, leave that other piece in and it would stay elevated off the ground, or slip it out and leave it in this position where that lower piece can't drop down in the way. I wish there was some sort of lock on that. That would be super convenient. You wouldn't have to be starting it all the time and taking stuff apart so much. So continuing to talk about sort of transportation type things. The way that they have this design to put this up here, which means then you have a random 4-way wedge that has no place to go. So you've got to take that and put it in your tractor bucket or the back of your utility vehicle, or if you have a 4-wheeler and you're moving this, I don't really know what you do with that so that that doesn't damage anything. I wish they had a place for you to store that during a move. Even if they just had something that popped out of here that was removable and you could just set that on there. I mean, there's lots of places they could put a little bracket so that you could store that 4-way wedge when not in use. So I bought the 22-ton model, and I would say 95% of the time that's fine. It gets the job done, but sometimes I'm doing some gnarly, knotty pieces of cherry and things like that, and I wish I had purchased one that was a little bit more than the 22-ton. I don't remember what the next size up was. That is not, me telling you this is not a negative towards the company or the splitter, or I wish they did it differently. It was just, I thought about it while I was here and letting you know that you may want to consider a larger size if you're going to be doing large pieces, knotty pieces, things like that. So when we're talking about price on this, the main I-beam and the ram and everything is all super, super heavy. Some of the other components I wish were just a little bit thicker. So that right there is just the thickness of the tube. So to me, it could be just a little bit thicker. Again, I haven't bent mine, but if you're gonna do commercial stuff, you may find that you'll end up bending yours a little bit. It's not the end of the world. The fenders, you know, I bent my one fender. Actually, I did that very recently. I've had it all these years before I did it. But, you know, I can straighten it out. But it would be nice if the fender was just a little bit thicker. So it's give and take, because if they made the stuff thicker, obviously the price is gonna be more. So I'm just nitpicking about that. Overall, it's really been a great unit. The only things I would change are just kind of little nitpicky engineering things about storage and transportation. And again, maybe they've already addressed these on the newer models. So I think that about does it, guys. I've kind of gone over everything. I did do a video. It wasn't like an in-depth video, but I did do a video of assembling this. I think that's one of the things that keeps the cost down on this a bit. When it gets shipped to you, it's in some pieces and you've got to put pieces together. You got to put the hydraulic stuff on and the hoses and things. And it wasn't bad, but it did take me a little while to make sure that I got everything. I never put one of these together before. So it took me a little while to make sure I was doing everything correctly. Overall, it really wasn't bad. You know, overall, if you were to ask me, would I buy another one of these? Would I recommend it? My answer would be yes. Again, I don't know, for a guy who's gonna split, you know, 7 cords a day with the thing all winter long, I can't tell you how it would hold up. I can tell you for a homeowner, a homesteader, a farmer, things like that, I think this splitter has held up very well. I would not be afraid to buy another one. I would, of course, upgrade from the 22 ton to something a little bit bigger, you know, power-wise. But other than that, yes, I would definitely buy another one. So again, I hope I've addressed everything here for you guys today. I know it's a little bit longer of a video, but you know, when you try to start packing some details in there, that's unfortunately what happens. If you have any questions about the splitter, leave it in the comment section down below. I appreciate everybody watching. It takes a while to make these. If you wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up button on your way out the door, I would greatly appreciate it. If you want to see some more on this splitter or some of the other things we have going around the farm and the property here, hit the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. I think that's all I have for you guys. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see y'all in the next video.